everybody. Yep, I'm back. It was a long night, but I got up, and so here I am, and it took me no effort, and I'm just happy to be here. Welcome to Tao of the Day. This is Martin John, and here we talk about the Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching is an ancient text written in the 6th century BC, and it's full of all sorts of enigmatic wisdom. But the thing, I was at the yoga studio last night, and we were talking about gene keys, and we were talking about all these other kind of modalities and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I know all about gene keys, and it was just too much reading. The nice thing about the Tao is it's short. It's right up my alley. I do not like to read. I don't like to sit and read a book. That's not a pleasurable experience for me. I've done it just because I'm all about Tao, and so I've sat down and I've read things, and I was like, okay, I'm determined. I'm going to sit down and read this book cover to cover, and I did it. And I did that a couple times in one sitting, and I've done that like over time, but I don't like it. And so I don't want to do it. Gene keys, other kind of modalities and things like require so much reading. So you got to read about all this stuff. And the nice thing about Tao is it starts by saying, look, words can't express it. So even though I'm using words, I'm not getting anywhere. And so it doesn't try and use too many words. This is 81 chapters. There's less than 10,000 words. There's less than 7,500 words in my entire Tao. That's brilliant, right? It's 30 pages, and each chapter, no chapter is more than 250 words. That's up my alley. That idea that I can, yes, I have to read each of these 1,000 times in order to get anywhere with it. I understand. There's little riddles and all these other kinds of things. But still, Robin, I saw you kind of pop up. If you wanted to come up and chat, that'd be great. Otherwise, I understand that might have been a mistake. So, not much of a reader, I got to admit. But I do like to soak what I read in. That's the thing. If I were to read the book of Gene Keys, which is thick as fuck, right? In the way that I read Tao, because I use Tao, right? I use each and everything in the Tao. And all these other sorts of modalities that have, like text for them. I think I even talked about this idea that I was on a call over the weekend. I was on a call on New Year's Day from a group that I'm a part of, and they talked for 2 hours about all these concepts and what you got to know, and I was like, oh my God, he's using too many words. And I only saw an hour of the 2-hour conversation because I came in an hour late, and I was already sort of like, Jesus, how much do you want to talk about this? How much is there to say? And then in the end, they're just like, oh, it's very easy, but I'm like, well, then keep it easy. So that's why I like the Tao. And I like using the Tao as an oracle, as you guys that follow me know. I like also to be predictable. So I wanted to come on at 6:00 today even. I know yesterday I said I might not. Wasn't sure exactly what was going to happen today. But I like to be regular about things, especially because I guess the announcements are being people aren't being told that it's on. So I figure, come on at 6. Let's be predictable. Let's have people be able to count on it. So if you're new to Tao of the Day, I know this is the beginning of the year, so a lot of people might be here for the first time. People might be coming into Noom Vibe for the first time. They might be just learning about Noom Vibe. This is a place where we can talk about the Tao Te Ching. What I like to do is kind of introduce ourselves. So you come up on stage, and it's a very chill. I don't think I'm hard to approach. We'll just kind of chat a little bit about what's going on in your life, where you're at, what you're thinking about, what you're facing, what's going on, really briefly. And that's going to give us a little baseline. That's going to give us a little sort of like, okay, this is the topic that we're going to be talking about today. And then I'm going to ask you to pick a number between 1 and 81. Why 81? Because there are 81 verses in the Tao Te Ching. And like I said, this is kind of like an oracle, so it's kind of like picking a card. And so when you pick your number, we'll go to that and we'll talk a little bit about what it is you're going through. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm going through too much these days. I finished the mosaic I was working on. I'm working on a mosaic with a friend of mine. He's the lead artist. I'm coming in to just kind of help out, be an extra pair of hands, be some hours. And the final tile was placed for that on New Year's Day. I was at the yoga studio that I work at yesterday. Oh, Susan's going to join me. And that was nice. Very slow there, but I'm doing more help around there. Hey, Susan. Hi.
Morning, Martin, John. How are you?
I'm doing very well.
Good, I am too.
So glad.
Very quiet after the new year. I've been very quiet. People are calling, wanting me to do all kinds of things. I've got invitations, dinner invitations, and I just want to be quiet.
Yeah.
So that's where I am.
Yeah, we're still in those rough nights, and these are times for reflection. You know, we're in a new place. It's starting.
Yeah. I guess that's where I am because I'm just really happy being with me. Yeah. I don't want any outside interference. That doesn't sound good, but that's exactly how I feel.
There's an interesting thing that happens when we kind of start to really love ourselves and give ourselves space. And this is why words are particular. This is why the Tao says words are particular, because you're saying your words from a very, very particular place. People are hearing those words from a very particular place. And when you say it doesn't sound good, it's kind of like when I said to a friend of mine, I have nothing to live for.
Oh, my God.
And what I mean by that is my life is so good that if I were to die, that's okay.
I get it.
Right?
It's not me.
Those words, I have nothing to live for. Most people would jump to the conclusion of, oh my God, you're going to kill yourself. And it's like,
exactly
no.
That's where I went.
Right. But from my perspective, not having anything to, like, my life unfolds every day, and I have no major thing that I have to accomplish before I die. I am just being.
That's right where I am.
Right. And when you're here in this space and you're just like, I'm fine with the silence of my day. Like, yes, like I don't have to go out. Like, and that's the thing. You can go out, but you don't have to. And when it's time for you to go out, you will. And it's not like you're in this space because you're afraid. You're not in this space because you're not enough. You're actually, I would say probably because of what I know about you, in a new space. And you're really trying to figure out who you are without all of the influence of the externals. And as you do that,
hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, and as you get comfortable with yourself, you can go out into the world and not get sidetracked as easily. And when you're inspired, as it sounds like you are, because it doesn't sound like you're staying in because you're afraid of going out.
No, I'm happy camper.
Yeah, as you're staying inside and you're doing this, that may just be your soul or Tao protecting you from outside influence while you're still like vulnerable. Yeah. It's like I'm a Cancer. So I know that process really well. That idea of being vulnerable against the shore. That's why we keep the shells on, right? That's why we keep our shell. Mm-hmm. And so, but for me, it was so important as a Cancer to realize and to get strong enough in who I am to remove my shell and expose myself to the shore, knowing that I am the shore and it cannot hurt me. And that means having to put in the hands of people around me the enough tools and enough stuff that they can hurt me and trust that they don't. And when they attempt to, realize that it doesn't hurt. And it's been, and that's, when I hear the process that you're going through right now, where it's just like, oh, I'm happy just staying quiet in the house. It's like, that's like the idea of stillness and integration, which is which is number 16 of the Tao. It's just like, you're still. I'm going to read this one. And I can still pick a number.
I was just going to say, let's do 16.
Okay. So stillness and integration. Being empty of mind is of the utmost importance and is to be guarded with fervor. We all have seen states of action arise, and always beyond it returns stillness. When any state of action is complete, it naturally returns to stillness. This allows integration of what arose from action, which is the natural cycle of maturation. If stillness and integration cannot be achieved, constant action will lead to anxiety and wild movements.
Wow.
Yielding to stillness makes one impartial, and all particular things fall away. Then, when it is time to die, one can be impartial to that as well.
Well, there you go. That's exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've been reading this for a while. It just comes from me. It's not like I'm not thinking much, like it comes from me. And then it's like, oh yeah, this one is like what we're talking about. Okay.
That was perfect, Martin John. That's perfect for me right now.
And what I really like about this is like being empty of mind is of the utmost importance and is to be guarded with fervor. When I decided to write it in that way, I liked the paradox of like, wow, being empty of mind and doing anything with fervor seem to be opposites.
Exactly. Which is the Tao.
Right. And there's this idea of like you're getting inundated. It sounds like whatever, with invitations to do things, to be places.
I am.
And stuff. And it's like that's the world continuing to invite you back. And like, but you look inside and you're like, no, right? And it's like, and that's what I mean by, that's what I was kind of like, that's the fervor. It's like, it's going to come at you like with fervor. And you have to say, oh no, thank you. Right? No, thank you. And then, one thing may come in which you want to say yes to, and you'll know that because it'll feel that way. And like I said, we're still in the dark nights, so we're still in the rough nights. So it's really, I would suggest you'll probably start opening up after the 6th.
Yeah,
to some, to like you'll open up to kind of having new experiences out in the world. But I really think that, like, for all that you've done to come here, like, this is a good time to just be quiet with yourself. Allow you to be who you are. And I'm so grateful that you a lot of people, and that's the anxiety and wild movements thing. A lot of people, when they're here, it's like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, when you said, I don't want to go out and see other people, or whatever the words you said were. And you were like, that doesn't sound good. It's like, it doesn't sound good to people who are constantly moving and trying to, and people may come to you and say, I'm just worried about your health.
Mm.
They may come in and try and influence you in ways because your actions make them feel uncomfortable. Because they couldn't stand being still in the way that you have become comfortable with.
I have friends like that. Just have to be active constantly.
Yeah.
And it drives me crazy.
And they are, it's always funny because they're constant. They got the TV on in the background. They got the radio on in the car all the time, every moment of the day. They're just filled and filled and filled. And it's like, if you're this filled, what do you have room for?
It reminds me of when I was married to my ex-husband. His sister came to live with us, and she was one of those people that just didn't like to be alone, period. So she would follow me wherever I went, and it was awful. I mean, it got to the point where I just wanted to belt her in the mouth, just get away. But, it's hard to do that because I knew
it's hard to belt her in the mouth.
Yeah, it was hard for me to belt her in the mouth. I don't think I've ever hit anybody. But I thought about it, Martin John. I did.
Oh, I'm sure. And that's one of the things that, those people like that cannot imagine that other people want to be alone.
Seriously.
Yeah. Because just like we couldn't imagine people, whatever, you couldn't imagine at some point people not wanting a horse.
Yeah.
You couldn't imagine people not wanting that bigger car or a big house, and everybody wants this. And so I'm going to have it as my status symbol. And it's like, you couldn't really imagine. And in the 80s, very few people could imagine that. But it was your status symbol. It was like, this is what gave you value.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were to run across someone that didn't like it or didn't want those things, you'd have just dismissed them as nuts.
Dismissed them. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Yep.
I just wouldn't have wanted to be around them.
Right.
But
they're not important because they don't want the things that are important.
Well, now I want what I have, and that's what I'm happy with.
It's so beautiful. Right. And you have this right now, and that's the, and it's interesting, talking with you because there's this, you're going through this whole new maturing process,
At this age, isn't that amazing?
At this age, right. Like at this stage of your life, you are maturing into this beautiful, person, not that you weren't, but I'm telling you, this is, I'm so enamored by you and this journey that you have found yourself on.
The process.
And what's that?
The process.
Yeah.
That I'm going through. It's
because it has nothing to do with age. That's the thing we used to think, right? Like, oh, you're 16. Oh, you're 18. Oh, you're 21. Brr, and now you're mature. And it's like, There's a conversation in the arts when we talk to painters and sculptors and artists just in general. Just like, okay, you can look at their work and you can see the process that they're going through. You can see, and then one day they just make something new. And then you're like, now you're maturing, right? You're maturing as an artist. You're maturing. Your ideas are maturing and they're getting broader. It's not just about painting something to look like something else.
Mm-hmm.
You have an idea of
I love it.
what's moving on. Yeah. And that may never come. I mean, I know artists who just do craft, and they're like real fine artists, but it's still they lean on craft. And then, in their 50s or 60s, they're like, they start doing something new, and it's like, oh, now you're maturing, but they've been making art for fucking 30 years, and it's like, okay, now it's happening because, you start to not be so afraid.
It's seriously a release. It's a release in your body.
Yeah. Because you think, right. Because you think of because you're under the influence and you're like, but I'm doing all the right things that I'm told to do around me. And you think you're mature because I'm 21 and I can drink and I can make these choices and I can drive and I can do all of these things. And it's like, yeah, but until you start making the choices for yourself, you're just regurgitating etiquette or rules.
Yep.
I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited for all that you have going on.
Thank you, Martin John. And I'm excited for you, too. You have so much going on, always. Life is just fun, and it's easy, isn't it?
Yeah, life is easy. I don't know. I was having some beautiful conversations yesterday with people at the yoga studio about just life, and it's so beautiful.
It is. I just love it, and I love you. And
yeah, we'll talk to each other soon again. I love you too. And I love that we read 16. 16 is, as I don't disbelieve anything, right? It's so much, and I've talked about this before, this idea that if you don't believe something, you're making this choice that something isn't worth believing in. Christy, how are you doing?
Great. How are you?
I am well. Look at you, bright and early. Look at big smile. Man, love it.
Thank you. I just got off a vacation, but I am an early person. That's one of the things about me that I like, that I'm an early to bed and early to rise person.
Yeah. There is something really, like, I've become that. Like, I mean, I've been that now for pert near 15, 20 years. But I mean, I remember being up at 4 a.m. and kind of thinking about, okay, well, maybe I should be going to bed soon. Now I wake up at 4 a.m. and it's like, oh, okay, well, that's, and there is a different energy that you tap into, a different energy at 4 a.m. depending on if it's the beginning of your day or if it's the end of your day.
That is exactly right. I feel like I get a head start on life, and like yesterday we came back from vacation and we got up in the middle of the night and we drove. I like to be the driver, and so I had a couple hours in the dark. But then when the sun came up, it felt like a rejuvenation, starting over again. A different kind of energy. But I am back at Noom again. I was in it for a while. I lost some weight and did real well, and feeling pretty good about trying to do lifestyle changes. But I slipped a little bit, of course, on my vacation. And but one of the things I'm trying to do right now is work on procrastination. I have ADD, and that's an area. Like being in the now, I went through a mindfulness class while I was on vacation, and they talked about being in the now, to help with different things. But I'm trying to learn ways to not procrastinate, which is a hard thing for an ADD person.
So I don't think we've talked before, have we?
No, we have not.
Okay. Well, I love that. I love all that you said. Have you listened to the show before?
I have. I usually get on about 4 to 5. I know I might be off topic, and I'm not really sure what.
No. It's not. That's not about that at all. I'm asking just so because I'm going to ask you to pick a number, and I just want to make sure that you you know what we're talking about and why we're doing it. Okay. And because sometimes people are just like, oh, this is like the other shows and stuff, and we're just going to go on and talk about some stuff and whatnot. And I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So I hear that you the procrastination. You procrastinate a lot, and the one thing I would say about procrastination, and the thing is procrastination really has a big should in it, right? And so there's this idea that like, well, I shouldn't be procrastinating, and I really should be working on this thing, and shoulding on yourself. Is not something that I'm a real big fan of. And I was, when I talk, because I come at this from, the standpoint, some of my language comes from the standpoint of addiction. And I talk about living under the influence. Mm-hmm. So we live under the influence of our parents, and then we live under the influence of the education system. We live under the influence of our bosses and partners and the education system and the economic system and all of these sorts of things. We live under those influences, and those influences tell us to do lots of things, and lots of things that actually take us away from ourselves. And be in order to live under those influences, we have to give up bits of ourselves. Mm-hmm. So here we are, a child, we're drawing on the walls and we're like, oh my God, I'm so proud of myself and I did this nice thing. And our parents come in and say, no, don't do that. Here, they give me a piece of paper and it's like, this doesn't feel the same to me. And I'm in trouble for doing what felt good to me. And well, I'm going to be a good kid, and I'm going to stuff down the feeling of wanting to work on something vertical and work on something horizontal because that's what my parents want. And, my parents don't want me to use my left hand, so I'm going to use my right hand. And my parents, don't want me to sing, so I'm going to, and that might have just been one instance, right? We're in the car and I'm singing and my parents are on the phone, and so they tell me to be quiet. Now I turn that into they don't want me to sing. I have this frame of reference that my parents don't want me to sing. They don't want me to draw. They don't want me to do these things. And I'm going to be a good kid, and I'm going to be. Well, then all of a sudden, by 4 years old, I have given up 3 things for my parents. Now, inadvertently, it's not like I'm doing that on purpose, right? Mm-hmm. I'm doing that inadvertently because I don't have a frame of reference. But when I get in trouble for doing something, and that's just because they were doing something else, and I couldn't recognize that as a 4-year-old, as a 3-year-old, right? Like I couldn't recognize it. And so here I am living under this frame of reference that these things are bad and these other things that they want are good, and I'm going to do the good thing because then I can stay in the tribe, I can stay in the family, right? And so we kind of make up, so that's kind of a simplified story of how childhood works and how we can really easily live under the influence. Now, when we are taking tests in school, right, we have to answer certain questions. Now, for all of the people that learned in the 1950s something that is no longer true, are we going to go back and change their grades? We're not. Right? And so they're living under the influence of the information that they received, which was all like very much wrong, right? but they all got grades for it, and they all got jobs for telling everybody the wrong thing because it was just about regurgitating information, not about being right. Mm-hmm. And so when I talk about this idea of like living under the influence, it's like that's a lot of that. Like you are a certain type of person. Now maybe you're procrastinating because you're unhappy with what you're doing. Maybe you're procrastinating because it's you're not in touch with who you are, and so it's not. So I don't know where the procrastination is coming from. It might be a symptom. It might be a feature.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's things like taxes. Tax season always, I get frozen. I know once I do it, it's like, okay, well, that wasn't so bad. But it's just the idea of finding all the information and, what if I don't get anything? And
well, right. So what I see in that is the fear of getting in trouble. Right? Like that might not be about taxes. Because it's like, what if I don't have it all? Just the questions that you asked. What if I gotta find it all? What if I don't have it all? What if I'm missing something? What if I get a number wrong? What if I do this? And when I hear that, it really kind of comes to, I can see there's some potential there of that story to have implications of the fear of getting in trouble from your parents, fear of getting in trouble from teachers, fear of getting in trouble from, fear of not having your homework done, fear, little things like this, all of those things. And that's coming from a faulty frame of reference. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm going to ask you to pick a number between 1 and 81.
24.
24. Just out of the chair. So 24 is entitled "To Do What Is to Be Done."
Okay.
Okay. I want to just take a deep breath with you, okay? I'm just going to want to connect and just recognize everything that we just talked about, and then we're going to say, standing on tiptoes robs you of firm footing. Mm-hmm. Rushing ahead robs you of where you are. Mm-hmm. Looking at yourself robs you of seeing. Boasting of yourself robs you of your brilliance. Overpowering others robs you of your power. Clinging to your work robs you of longevity. If you want to align with Tao, just do what is to be done and then stop.
Now,
so when we look at...
What's these that? Numbers? Is this like in a book, these numbers?
Yeah. So the Tao Te Ching is an ancient text written in the 6th century BC. Uh-huh. And the translation that we're reading is mine. There's many other translations, and I don't read ancient Chinese text, so I used other translations to kind of gain information about what each chapter meant, and then I wanted to express that chapter to the best of my ability, and that's what we're working with. And so, what this is talking about, what I see here, is, you are living in this space of fear of the future, of what if. Mm-hmm. What if this isn't right? What if? And that deep anxiety that's in your gut, and that gut, it does. So when we look at the gut, we look at survival, because the gut is all about survival. That's lower chakra energy in terms of connection with the earth. But then the gut brain is like that survival brain. It's the brain that helps us learn what to eat, literally, right? It helps us learn, those gut instincts you have. Sometimes you're like, I'm feeling like I'm forgetting something. Or, I feel like I shouldn't go to that. Or, or I knew that was going to happen, or thing. And that comes from your gut. And when your gut twists up, there's something going on there. And it might not be about taxes, because you might have the same exact feeling, at work sometimes. That might be the same feeling, but maybe a little less intense, or maybe a little more intense, depending on what the situation is.
Right. I do.
Right.
I'm a people pleaser, and I'm a technical writer, and I'm the sole technical writer where I work. So sometimes I get a lot of demands from a lot of different people that don't realize I have other things. And so there's that. It's that feeling of overwhelming, trying to get a lot of things done and making sure everybody's happy. It's a same kind of a feeling.
I'm intrigued. I'm going to ask you about your birth order. Are you the third born?
I am.
Yeah. So, okay, that's your... That's your role, sweetheart. Like, you can't escape that shit. Like you don't have ADHD. You're a thirdborn.
Oh, really? That's the thing with thirdborn. I know I was a middle child. I have a younger brother, but that's a thirdborn thing, huh?
Are you third?
I'm third, and I'm the girl.
No. You're. That's not a middle child. You're thirdborn. Like, that's your role.
Okay.
Like, that's yeah. And like, just from what you said, I'm like, oh yeah, I know who you are. Like, and I don't at all. I don't like, and I'm not trying to say that. Like, I'm not psychic or anything. It's just like, this is the role. This is family roles, and when you are in a family, and I'm sure you were loved and stuff, and I'm sure, like, I don't, like all of those sorts of wonderful things in terms of family, but you have a frame of reference. Uh-huh. You have a frame of reference that, like you're looking at your older siblings, right? You look at, like, and there's one that represents your dad, and there's one of your siblings that probably, and this is just general, like the oldest probably represents your dad, and then is kind of like your dad. The next one is kind of like your mom, a little more supportive, less demanding, like less precise, or like it could be very neurotic, secondborns as well. But then you don't have a position. There is nobody in your family that has a position that you do.
Oh, right.
So you don't have an adult to emulate.
All right. So I've become the most independent out of all of my siblings.
Yes. You have to be, right? Uh-huh. Because there is no adult that emulates your role.
Right.
And so you don't have a litmus test to how to be you.
Right.
And so when you go out in the world, you're making it up as you go.
Right.
And so some lean on rules, and lean on this is the right way and wrong way, and there's probably something of that in you, because when things fall away from the rules, you freak the fuck out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and send you this text when I'm done here, just so you have it to look at.
And where do I?
Oh, you're going to find it in your. So if you're on the listening page, I think on the top of the page you can see a little, like, thought bubble, a little speech bubble. That's where it will be. You'll see a 1 there. I don't know how else to access it, but I hope that's helpful. You can send me a message from there as well. Wandering Fool, my dear, how are you? You're muted. Is that on purpose?
No.
Nope. Here you are. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
How's your new year so far?
It's very interesting to look at.
Very good? I'm not hearing you really well. Oh, you're breaking up. I'm gonna take a.
What about?
Yeah. Oh man, right and crystal clear.
I had my headset in, and they're noise blocking, so I feel like I'm talking loud, but I'm not.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, I don't hear anything, and then it cut in. But you're here. You're just like a. For some reason, I'm thinking of a dishwashing liquid commercials. Like, you're crystal clear. Oh, I love it when we talk, because your environment, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's your voice or if it's just coming over. It's always that morning. It's like your environment. It's always soft and, like, just warm. And I really appreciate it when you come on, because I can just feel that sort of that space. I don't know if you're in space like that, but it definitely feels that way.
I have an intention every day of making my space like that. So I'm glad it's working.
It definitely is. Definitely is. So what's so since I didn't hear you before, how's your new year going?
It is very interesting. As a Mars-ruled sign coming into a Mars-ruled year. It's like, oh. And Mars is coming out of retrograde, so the slingshot action is pulling in. Because when I think of retrogrades, I think of being pulled back to look at what needs to be done. And I'm feeling the tension of the rubber band, and it's about to pop, and I'm about to fly somewhere.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to embody the passion instead of the fear, because I have no fucking clue where I'm going or how I'm going to get there. But it's like, it's fine. Well, it'll work itself out. It's fine.
You know, I read something, or I saw something the other day. It was really interesting, and it's coming up for me right at this moment. I don't know why, but it's this idea of like, you know, way back when, you know, when we were, you know, 3,000, 6,000 years ago, whatever it was, we had global stability and local instability, right? So our lives, day to day, were unstable because we might get attacked. It might be, you know, raging fires. It might be all sorts. Like locally, like things were really crazy. But globally, everything was cool. Now, that's switched. Globally, we're unstable. And those big shifts are making huge things. But if you go to Starbucks, you can get the same macchiato that you've always had. So locally, everything is stable, and then everything globally is unstable. And there's this switch, and I think we have to. I don't know what we have to do, but it's just an interesting thought. And when we're talking about the feelings and the things that are going on, like it's deeper than just it's deeper and it's more interdependent and interdependent than ever.
Yes, because I have to I have been working on training my nervous system that when I'm in trouble or I make a mistake, I'm not being chased by a mountain lion. It's just a mistake.
Right.
And it's one of those things that I struggle with because I am a firstborn. I am the eldest daughter of a deeply religious family. So
you have a specific role you're supposed to play.
Absolutely. I became the bedrock. But the drawback for it was, if I didn't get it right, that was my ass.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And your younger sibling, they didn't have that kind of.
Oh no!
They everything they did was good. Like, what is this? Like, I know because I'm a second-born, but we were like, as second-borns, the attention that you got, even if you got in trouble,
was attention.
Was attention, right? And you didn't see that as attention because before the second-born was born, the attention you had was not getting in trouble. It was being praised. It was being loved. And then you see the second-born getting all of that, but they don't see that. They see you're the one getting attention, and I'm not good enough. Like it's a crazy way of looking at things. And we just talked to Christy, who was a third-born. Like, look, we run the gamut today. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And it's really odd for me as an adult because I was having a conversation with my bestie. She's a veteran social worker. And yes, I have a bestie that's 20 years older than me. Like, we are locked in. Good. That is my homie for life. Good. And we were talking about her niece. She's 16. Mm-hmm. And we were going into Walmart. And she was like, I want to find that security guard that said he wanted to marry my niece. And the first thing that came to mind for me, and this was really a reflection moment, I almost said, well, that happens all the time. And I said, wait a damn minute. That's not supposed to happen. Then why did that happen to me from the ages of like 10 on up? It was crazy. And I had to sit there for a moment. Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And I was like,
and then think about that. Think about how that's going to affect, it's crazy what's normal to some people. Like if you live in a household that is, if you live in a crack house, what's normal to you is so extremely different than what's normal to anyone else. If you are being asked to marry somebody from the age of 10 on, your frame of reference for what the world is and what it wants from you is going to be so messed up,
And it has been. And I'm so angry. And I cycle through anger and grief. I just let it flow as it goes.
But it's just your experience. You're all right.
Yeah, like it's
not to dismiss it, of course. No, I love you, and I think that
I get it, but that's the exact mindset I have to have. It's just the experience, and it's no longer happening. And at this point, I have learned enough that try it if you want to.
Yeah.
You're going to find out something you might meet your ancestors today. You try it now. But it's
fuck around and find out, bitch. I'm Gen X. What's up?
Find out. You will learn today. If you don't learn anything, you'll learn not to fuck with me.
Yeah,
but that's just the adult version of me protecting the teenage version of me.
Right.
Because we always talk about the inner child, and me and the inner child have been good forever. Like I have my favorite Pokemon tattooed on me. Like I've always been a kid. But that teenager that's out for blood, oh boy.
Yeah. No,
that one wants retribution.
Yeah, and that's that's happening. I mean, depending on you said 10, and that brings us into the heart brain, right? This brings us into the development of relationship. And so, I would suggest that you've had in your younger days, 8, 9, 10, things like that, when you were examining relationship, you were betrayed.
Absolutely.
And by being betrayed, you built a wall, or you built a frame of reference that told you how the world was going to treat you. And we were talking the same thing with Christy on different topics, but it's like you built a frame of reference that tells you the world is going to betray you. And now you are out here and you're the firstborn. And so you're the one that needs to take over the family. And so like, not only is it your ass, but it's the entire family.
Yep.
And so now you go out there, and that's your lioness, right? That's your whole, like, you got your claws out, and you're like, okay, you're and this whole idea of like that happens all the time. And what you're really saying is like, people are always trying to get you to be weak.
Yeah.
And it's like marriage is not a place. I don't know how you feel about marriage, but all of these people asking you to marry you is just like, if you had that experience, you'd be saying, you want me to give up my strength for you?
Yep.
Right. And so as that all coalesces and becomes the adult you, it's like, wait a minute, nobody's asking you to do that. Like, it seems like they're asking you to do that, but they're not more important than you. So saying no, even though it feels like an act of rebellion, it's an act of grace that you're taking towards yourself. And like not letting people do that, right? And it's like, that's the thing. Like we see it as an act of rebellion, but you're not rebelling against anything. You're actually just being honest and true to yourself.
There's a little ditty. It's a part of a song that just, whenever I'm getting stressed out or a PTSD flare up or anything of that nature, and it always just kicks in when I need it. And if I need a rhythm to the beat of my heart, I listen. Hope it don't get me too far gone. And it just repeats, and I just repeat it. Because
that's what we call a mantra.
I have to put it in my mind, in my heart, that I can listen to myself. I don't have to go outside of me to get anything.
Because there ain't nothing out here.
Ain't a damn thing out here. Not for me, at least. Because my inner world was cultivated to be so rich because of the environment. With the frame of reference I had to close off. And I became this really deep diver with no oxygen. Like, people tell me, because I smoke cigarettes, but I still sing and I can belt out notes, and they're like, that's not fair. How do you breathe the way that you do and sing as long as you do and have a physical handicap? Like, you're literally handicapping yourself. And I'm like, because I've practiced depth my entire life.
And that a lot of that has to do with throat chakra, and it's everything does come down to energy. And it's like, if you have a voice, that's not going to be affected by cigarette smoking, right? Now, lungs, other things like that. Like, who knows who knows how. This, and that's why I would say, like, that anger that you have for the world, that frame of reference, that could be an entryway for illness. So getting that shit in check as soon as possible is probably going to be a good idea, because, like, you do have things in your life that could invite those things in. And so if you deal with the energy, you don't have to deal with the physical stuff of other things, because the energy and the pushing things away and the blocks and the stuff and your protective measures, you only take protective measures when you have something to protect yourself against. And if it can't come in through other people, it'll come in through your own body.
And that's why I sing.
So I think there's always work. There's always work. Now I know you're going to drop off in a bit. If you can come back up, please do. And before you drop off, please pick a number, and then I'll go through it and I'll talk about this if you can't come back on.
22.
22. 22 is entitled "Looking Away from What You Want." And, as we were talking, I'm just going to read this. To become complete, know that you're partial. To become straight, know that you're crooked. To become full, know that you're empty. To be new, know that you're worn out. He who wants it all must know what all includes. Thus, the master stays centered in Tao and becomes an example for the world. Because she knows her light is forfeit, people can see it. Because she has no point to prove, people can trust her words. Because she has no identity, she becomes a mirror for others. Because she has nothing to attain, nothing can be kept from her. Thus, when it is said to become complete, know that you're partial. It is wise to heed and surrender to it. Only by living in collaboration with Tao can one find completion. This is an interesting thing, because you are complete. You have always been complete. You were born complete. And this first set of things, this first list of stuff, to become complete, know that part, to become straight, know that you're crooked, to become full, know that you're empty. All of those are opposites. And when we look at that, we see and we take into consideration the standpoint of Tao, words are particular. To become this word, you have to understand this word. It's like, you are all things at all times. There is no complete and partial. But if you want to be complete, so if you feel unfinished, you better know that you're partial as well. You don't become complete by hiding away your partiality. You don't, like, this is why the master stays centered and down becomes an example for the world. She's neither of those things. She's not strong. She's not weak. She is. She's not right. She's not wrong. She is. And you're constantly living in collaboration with everything around you. And as you collaborate with the world, you open yourself up to it, and you get to be who you are.
One of my favorite affirmations, that just reminds me of it. When I'm feeling like nothing, I remind myself that I'm everything. When I'm feeling like everything, I remind myself I am everything and nothing, not or and.
Right. Yeah. This is if you've heard me talk about that statement, like everything's stupid. Yes. Everything is stupid. Everything is, I was talking to someone who was making a movie right now, and I was and stuff, and I was just like, your movie is stupid. Do it. But it's stupid. And I didn't know anything about the movie, but we were talking, and it was at the yoga studio, and so they know my concepts and stuff. And so it was great. And that's exactly, this too shall pass. That idea.
Yeah. Like, I get up sometimes. I'm like, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But absolutely. Do I stop? No.
Maybe for the afternoon. Maybe for the afternoon or for the day or whatever. But it's like, no, I'm like, this is, what else are you doing? Well, that's the thing. Like, life is stupid. Like, all we do, like the Tao says, like, people aren't afraid to die naturally because that's what we're born to do. It's like, if it's funny to me because, like, I remember one time someone talked about going on vacation, it's like, oh, when you go on vacation, like what happens is like you go to the airport, you get on the plane, you go somewhere, you get a hotel and you stay there, and then you go around, you do stuff, and then you come back and you go home. Well, if you just stayed home, you would have already, you wouldn't have to go do all those things. It's stupid. But you had all of these experiences by going through it. So great. And you enjoyed going through that. It's stupid because you ended up back home and it's all the same, but it's so important that you go through it anyway.
Yes. Because in the going through the experience, because we got divine feminine energy, divine masculine energy. I define myself as a divine comedy because this shit is stupid and it's hilarious, and I have to laugh because if I don't laugh and dissipate that energy in one way, I'm just going to cry all the time.
And it's all the same. Laughing and crying, same thing. And some people laugh, some people cry, some people, and there's judgments around because one is the other. Just like it says here, to become complete, know that you're partial. To become sad, know that you're happy. To become happy, know that you're sad. It's okay. Like, eventually you realize that you're neither, and you just are who you are. Yeah. And then there's no reason. Then if you find yourself crying, you cry. If you find yourself laughing, you laugh. That's it. That's just what you're doing right now. There's so much judgment and so much identity attached to all of that.
It really is. It doesn't fucking matter. Because at the end of the day, that time will pass. And once the time has passed, it's like, oh, well, I made it through that. That's nice.
Yeah, that's right.
On to the next thing. And in that, just like when you were talking about, I don't have anything to live for.
Right.
That word, when you said that, I immediately understood what you meant. Because I have one where I say, I'm so happy I could die. Like, I could die happy right now.
Right.
And wake up. Well, even if I don't, not wake up, but if there is an afterlife, get to the other side, like, well done. And that seems so morbid for people. But in reality, I've just come to a point where I just don't give a damn.
Right. Well, and I am all that is. Like, and I'm good with that. And there may come a point where I'm not, or where I have external goals and desires and stuff that can come back, sure. But as of right now, like, I don't see, Like, yes, I could say like, oh yeah, I'd still like to live in Spain because that'd be an interesting challenge, to change, move out of the country and, move overseas in a place where, far from where I was born with a second language and stuff. Like that's awesome. Like that would be a really great. I'm glad I don't have to do that under duress like so many other people change countries, but I can be here and I can allow my life to unfold. And yes, I want to live closer to my family in Spain and maybe I'm going to have the opportunity to do that. But if I don't, no big deal. I have my life is so good. My life is so beautiful. Like I get to go out and all the things that I thought Spain would offer me, I now have in Indiana. So whatever. Like I got an acre, like over half an acre of land. I got, like a 3/4 acre of land or whatever. And I got space and I can raise rabbits when I do. And I can do all of these things that I want to do. And by allowing myself to do those things, I'm just, nothing stops me from doing anything. Right? If I say, there's nothing in my life that I'm like, if I only, there's nothing in my life like that.
Right. Like when you get to the point, because I'm 31, there's this push.
Baby.
You need to have a baby. I'm talking about baby. My best friend tells me all the time, why are you hanging around with old people? Listen, y'all bring me a type of comfort. Yeah. It's a type of comfort that no matter what, everything's going to be okay. I will survive. But I walk out every day because there's this big pressure to have a career now. Well, you're a baby, but you're getting up in age and it's time to pick something. And I work at Waffle House. And when I tell you, I derive so much joy from just running around all night, meeting and greeting people. And I don't lack for anything because I meet people from all around the world.
I know.
I've met as far as the Netherlands and Nepal. And I got to ask questions and meet these people. And I'm like, I don't want for shit. Like, am I in a high paying career? No. Am I assistant manager? Yes. Am I enjoying the humanity that I get to see every day and take part in watching like core memories being built? Absolutely. There's this, I get this fuzzy feeling when I see a kid with their grandparents at Waffle House. Like, it's just like, oh, you're going to remember that. And I end up giving them a hat or a piece of pie or just, like, I can't describe it. It's just a fuzzy feeling. And there's this connotation that, well, you're getting up in age, you have a kid, you need to be working on the next generation. And I get it. But what better way to work on the next generation than taking part in humanity?
That's right.
Like, I can't think of anything else. Like, money is just currency. It's okay.
It's like, that's not, it's like, right. I mean, you know, in our society, depending on your surroundings, you're going to need some of it. You're going to need some, but it's available. It's around you. You don't know where it's, you don't have to know where it's going to come from, but you be who you are, and you contribute in the way that you contribute, and you will be taken care of.
I really have come to that point because I never seem to run out of money. Mm-hmm. I never seem to.
You can stress about it if you want.
Right.
If you want, you can stress about it.
I never seem to run out of backup. There's always, and I grew up religious, so one of the
God's
things.
Got your back. You ain't gotta fucking worry about shit.
And there was always this idea that if God took care of the sparrows and the birds and the worms and everything around you, what makes you think he won't take care of you? And it comes to me in a different form now because I have a more universal sense in studying all religions and Alan Watts and the Tao of the Day and all of those things. They come together in a different, like I'm in a different frame. My frame of reference has changed because not only is it God, it's humanity itself. And statistically speaking, I can't be the only person out here like this. Like that's statistically impossible. I've met people like me. So I always have backup, and I always have this warm feeling of knowing, I will be supported.
Right. And you don't, I mean, depending on the lessons that you need, you don't have to ask for it. If you need a lesson of like, you have to ask for help, like that's a lesson that you need to learn, you're going to have to ask. But if you surrender to who you are, you don't have to quote unquote ask for it. You don't have to go out and be like, I need proof. You don't, because you're not going to get proof. You're not going to get proof. Because if you ask God to prove himself, he's gonna let you know that he doesn't have to.
Speaking of proving
just like
yourself,
you don't have to prove yourself. Go on.
Speaking of proving yourself, this is something that kept me up. Well, actually didn't keep me up. I got up at about 4 a.m. just thinking on this. There's this cliche term that kept me stagnant for God knows how long in my life. No one will love you if you don't love yourself. And I was in the situation so bad because I thought that no one would love me. There is no love for me because I'm struggling to love myself in the moment. And I got to a point where I just sat and I said, either you prove why I need to be here or I am leaving. Yeah. Make it quick because you only got a little bit of time. If you cannot prove to me why I need to be here, because a life with no love is not worth living for me. So prove it. And I started to see people come back to me. You remember you helped me do this? I remember that you did this and it actually changed the course of my life. And I was like, I'm glad you made it quick. We were on the last leg here. I'm glad you made it. You either show yourself approved or get the hell out the way because I'm on my way. I don't know where I was going, but I was on my way.
You and Julio down by the schoolyard.
I was like, look, you gonna see me. You either going to see me or show me. And I was showed that I have this purpose. And it kind of drags me along sometimes because I'm like, I don't want to do it.
But you know, and I think that's what this 22, like to become complete, know that you're partial. It's wise to heed and surrender to it. It's not just you. You're out here in the big universe and you're connected to every corner of it. And this is a collaboration. It's like you want the world to prove something to you, then you're going to have to prove something to it. But if you accept it as it is and you accept yourself as you are, you'll be taken care of forever.
Bingo. I sing out to every particle in the universe and it sings back.
That's right.
I give love songs. Like, I am a lovesick teenager about every atom in my body, and it is hilarious because I sing love songs to myself at the top of my lungs, and it reverberates.
And here's the thing: you love yourself
in a way that is absolutely carnal.
Yeah, you love yourself, and that brings love in from every corner of the universe.
And it hasn't stopped flowing yet, so I think I'm okay.
It won't. Yeah, you're good. You're being held.
I appreciate you, my good friend.
I love you. You have a wonderful day, and we'll connect again soon. Melissa's coming. Melissa, how was your holiday? What is going on?
Mm-hmm. Hi, Martin.
Hey, you're smiling this morning.
I am smiling this morning. You know, I was enjoying the conversation that you were having with Christy and Wandering Fool, and you know, I've been doing a lot of not doing the shoulding on myself. Like the should comes up, and I'm like, nope, I'm not shoulding on myself today.
Takes practice,
it does, and I've been practicing it. And I loved what Wandering Fool was just saying about loving yourself. And I'm having a lazy day today, and it's okay. And you know what? I was laying here and I looked over, and my bookshelf is right across from me. And there's this book that I have, and it's called She Moves to Her Own Rhythm. And I'm like, that's what I'm doing. I'm just moving to my own rhythm. Like I told you a while ago, somebody said to me, and I thought it was hilarious when they said it. They're like, Melissa marches to the beat of her own drummer. And I'm like, yes, I do. It's cool.
And the idea that distinguishes you as different, not as better or worse or anything like that. Usually that's a compliment to some extent. But the fact that it distinguishes you gives you insight into how they see the world. And it's not that you're special. It's that everyone else has taken the specialness away from themselves. And that's why
I think it's that playfulness, that fun side, that I'm like, okay with being silly and playful and fun, because I'm not going to shit on myself. I'm like, hey, I'm going to fucking have fun, because why not?
That's right. What else am I going to do? Like if I'm not having fun, what am I doing here?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I'm so happy. There were days, like at the end of, in December that you were having rough times, and I'm really grateful and just filled to just hear your smile.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm grateful to be smiling and to be filled and to be held.
Oh, I'm glad. So what's going on?
I actually, guess what, Martin John? I have a great nephew that's going to be coming into the world today. Isn't that exciting?
So exciting. Congratulations.
Yeah, I know. My niece is having a baby, and I can't wait to have a new addition to our family. And that's super exciting. And, life is as it should be. Because I'm not going to shit on myself. I'm happy. I'm being held. I'm marching to the beat of my own drummer, and I'm just taking each day as it comes.
No, that's so beautiful.
Yeah. So I can't wait to meet little CJ. CJ is going to come into the world, and he's going to be a wonderful blessing to our family. And it's just super exciting, and I'll get a chance to love on a new soul. No, that was the funniest thing. So I thought my niece's husband's name is Christopher. So I assumed, what happens when we assume, right? Right. I assumed that CJ was going to be like Chris Jr. And so I asked my sister-in-law, and she's like, no, it doesn't stand for anything. It's just CJ. Because, usually people's initials stand for letters of their name. But no, just CJ. And I'm like, look at her doing her own thing. I like it. You just do what you want to do, girl. You want to call him CJ? You could call him CJ. And CJ doesn't have to stand for anything, right? Yeah. Because it's all stupid, right, Martin John?
It's true.
So how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing really well. So I do this thing at the yoga studio that I work with, that I'm a healer at. And I do these I do these 15-minute sketches of people, and I talk to them just in 15-minute snippets. It's kind of like what I do here, like in talking with Wandering Fool or talking with Christy or whatever, we have these 15-minute conversations. But while I'm doing that conversation, I do these sketches, and so that it's just kind of a little intro to my portrait work that I do, so people can get an idea of what it is that it's doing, because so many people are like, well, what's the portrait all about? And it's like there's this whole thing, and because it's a new modality, it's like introducing people to it, and it's a nice community healing circle, right? So there's lots of healers and stuff. And and last night I went into there and got to see all my other healing buddies, and got to meet some new potential client kind of things, and just support the studio, and it's probably the first thing I did this year that was community based. Like we got all together, and there's all this kind of fun stuff. So that's nice. It's exhausting because you meet with between like 3 and 10 people, and you do these 15. Like if I had to do Tao of the Day for 4 hours, I'd be exhausted. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And that's kind of what it's like. But at least with Tao of the Day, I only have to talk. I don't have to draw as well. But that's like Tao of the Day with me drawing for 4 hours and talking to people about like intense sort of things. And so usually that takes me out for the weekend. So that usually I'm in a space where I'm like, and I have to take a couple baths, and I have to light a candle, be quiet, like really kind of, sometimes I'll just like watch movies and like stare off into space just because it's so intense. But I'm feeling good this morning.
I can hear it in your voice.
It's gonna catch up to me. Like this is the manic stage before I crash. But like but I love what I do, and I love these interactions. Like I can't tell you, like talking with everybody this morning has been like, and I credit it somewhat to being at the studio yesterday and doing that work yesterday, because practice makes progress. The more you practice your energy work, the more you practice listening, the more you practice connecting, the better it gets. The easier it becomes. And I love all of you guys. And it's always such a delight to, like I don't take credit for your. Everybody wants to come in and say, you did this, right? You helped me in all of this, and I don't buy it, because if you didn't open yourself up to change, you wouldn't. And so it's like I'm maybe 1-2% of what you did, I was just with you for. And all of this work that you're doing in your life, and all the work that Susan is doing in her life to honor her stillness, all of the work that Christy is doing to kind of see how, her frame of reference and the overwhelm is coming from old ideas, and Wandering Fool, how she's who she is. Like, that's all you guys. I'm so honored to be here with you. That little dog is still hurting.
You know what? He's got bronchitis. I never knew a dog could have bronchitis. I had to take him to the vet, and they did an x-ray, and they told me he's an old guy. He's not a young chihuahua. And they said he has advanced age bronchitis. And I'm like, what? That's crazy. I never knew a dog could get bronchitis. So yeah, he's been on medicine, but you know what? I'm just loving him, and we do steam treatments. He has to I have to take him in the bathroom and steam it up every night, and so
you're so good.
Yeah. I just
beautiful.
I'm trying to treasure the time that we have, and know that he's loved. And I just have to say something. You were just talking, and you do something, Martin, with us, and you give us your love, and that's very special. So I just had to reframe that for you, because you were like, I don't do anything. You do. You love on us every day, and that's amazing. That's a wonderful thing to do.
Yeah,
so I just wanted to make you aware. Bring that to your awareness if you hadn't. I don't want you to discount that, because that's very important, my friend.
Yeah, and I would love you all, whether you matured, quote unquote, or grew, or was helped by that loving, or decided not to be. That love would always be there, and it was there before you ever came on here. And I'm so
but
grateful.
I didn't know about it then, so I'm very glad that I know about it now.
Like here it is. Anyone can find this. It's here. I'm not hiding. So let's pick a number.
I was for a long time, though.
What's that? Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's what we do. That's what we do. Especially when we're under the influence, right? Because we don't know who we are. We're trying to be someone else. And that's unfortunate, but here we are, doing what we do.
That's right.
Yeah.
And moving to our own rhythm, right?
That's right. Yeah, you got a drummer.
I do. Hey, I am a drummer. I mean, I'm not like a great drummer, but I drummed before. I was actually in a marching thing and did some drumming in ROTC. And now I have like African drums, which are cooler than, well, I don't know if they're cooler. It's just different, you know? Like
right. It's different. And that's
I'm making up my own beat instead of following somebody else's beat. I can just make it up as I go along.
Oh, good. So what's in the, what number do you have for me today?
Say that again. I lost you. What's in the?
Oh, yeah. Your number.
42. Give me a 42. What you got for me?
Give me a 42. Give me a 4. Give me a 2. There we go. 42. Holding both male and female.
Okay.
So it's balanced. Like that's what we're going to be talking about. Tao gives birth to universes. Universes give birth to planets. Planets give birth to beings. Beings give birth to everything else. So I'm going to pause there and just say, look, that's just establishing truth. That's just establishing what is. And we continue. It says, Tao is the great mother. All else holds both male and female. By all things embracing both, harmony is achieved. Oh, more truth. It's just giving you a baseline of what Tao is. Tao is the great mother. Tao does not hold male or female. Everything else does. Everything else holds both male and female. And by them embracing both male and female, harmony is achieved. I don't know why I'm reading it this way to you today, but that's what I'm doing. So we're going to just have to suffer through it. To feel alone is avoided by men, yet that is where no identity resides. So feeling alone is avoided by men. Once again, when I talk about genders, here we're mentioning men. Men are people that are not necessarily following Tao. They are following the manifestation. To feel alone is avoided by those who follow manifestation. Yet that is where no identity resides. Even in the manifestation, when you are alone, you can release your identity. You don't have to be something specific. You don't have to be Melissa. You can just be alone. And by being alone, you are able to be all things. You're able to be both male and female. You're able to embrace all that you are without it being an identity. The master holds no identity. She embraces her aloneness, realizing when she is at one with herself, she is at one with all things. And that is not to say that embracing your aloneness is not to say that you relish being alone or relish not being around others. It just means that even when you're with others, you embrace the fact that you're alone.
That's funny because I felt that way yesterday. I was over hanging out with Shane, and I was like, he was doing his thing, and I'm sitting there petting the dog, and I'm just like, it's all good though, because you know what, I'm just sitting here, he's doing his thing, I'm petting the dog, and it's all good, like you were saying, even though I was with him, I was still alone. And it was like, I was cool with it instead of feeling like, oh, I need to.
I want attention,
I should, or like, it's good. Like, I'm sitting here petting the dog. This, like this bundle of furry loving energy is just like all up on me, and I'm okay with it. He's doing whatever.
Oh, you dropped off. I didn't know that went by so fast. Yes, exactly. Everything that you're saying is just like, you can be alone with people. Now, feeling lonely is a different thing. So there's aloneness and loneliness. But for you to embrace your aloneness on the couch with the dog while Shane is off doing his thing, you're still you. But it doesn't have to be the identity of like, and that's the thing when we attach to an identity, when we go, I'm Shane's girlfriend. So because I'm Shane's girlfriend, I need to be treated this way all the time. I need to do these things for Shane all the time. I need to be of help. I need to do, it's like all of a sudden you're with your identity. You're not with your aloneness. You're not being you. You're being your identity. And by being able to sit there and just accept this moment, you're embracing both. You're embracing the fact that you're there. You're embracing the fact that there's nothing for you to do. You're just here. And that is embracing both the male and female, right? You're physically here and you don't have to do anything. You can just receive what is there for you.
Yeah, I really liked what it said about harmony is achieved because, thinking from like a singing music standpoint, because we were talking about drum and all of that, and I have some singing that I'm going to be practicing today, and, just like harmony, just being in harmony and harmony being achieved is so beautiful, because when things are harmonious, there's such beauty, So I really liked that line about harmony being achieved. And it can be achieved musically. It can be achieved in life. It can be achieved spiritually. So I just really like that line about harmony being achieved. That's beautiful.
And the full line is, by all things embracing both, being male and female, harmony is achieved. In music, you need space and you need sound. Like you can't just have music that is just sound, because then it's about having pauses. It's about having space. It's about having, things trail off and things come back and things introduced and things disappear. And there's a flow to it. Mm-hmm. And that's like our lives, right? We need pauses. That's what we talked about with Susan, that idea of stillness. Find those points in your life in which stillness can take over. Because if you're always running around, anxiety and wild movements are going to be birthed through not being able to mature from what's going on around you.
Yeah, there was another line that you said that really jumped out at me. It was being one with all things, And I just thought, that's that stillness you were just talking about. When you can just be still and be held, you are just being one with all things. And, that's what I'm feeling. That, like I was saying, moving to my own rhythm, that is just being one with all things. Like I don't have to move in a certain way. I don't have to do a certain thing. I'm a human being. I can just be,
That's right. Oh, so beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Thank you so much for coming up. I'm always so grateful to you and everybody that comes up, but it's really, really wonderful to continue to follow your journey and to see that this year's starting out pretty well, it sounds.
I'm very thankful for my journey. I'm thankful for your part in it. Even if you don't want to accept it, I am very thankful for it. I accept
it, but I like whether it's there or not. Like I don't want to accept too much responsibility, because if all things go south on you, like
that's all right. We just have to have a different talk. That's all. When things go south, you'll be holding me then too, because sometimes shit happens sometimes, right?
It does happen, but I don't want to take credit for it. That's the thing.
Oh, I feel that. Okay,
I'll fold you. And that's why I don't want to take credit for your ups. I can take credit for your downs. All right, sweetheart. You have a wonderful day. My best to Shane.
Thank you. You have a wonderful day too, dear. And I love you.
Love you. Bye-bye. Okay. We're going to wrap up this episode of Tao of the Day. Welcome, everybody that came in. I had a lot of people come through the room. And I'm grateful for that. It's beautiful to have people. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And I will see you tomorrow, probably 6 a.m. Central Time, for another Tao of the Day. So until then, keep recovering yourself.